Welcome back to the 2023 Department of the Air Force Women's Air and Space Power Symposium. I'd like to take time to welcome my friend, Staff Sergeant Franklin Harris, another host who will be making special appearances throughout this symposium. He will guide us through this next panel. Sergeant Harris?
Thank you, Granger. This next panel focuses on taking care of airmen and guardians. This is essential to mission success, and one of the critical components of the success is fostering quality connections. Dr. Womack provides information and practicum on strategies that, through meaningful action, add value in communicating appreciation and increase feelings of connection and value. I'm excited to introduce Dr. Womack to you all.
Totally going to do that again. So if you are here and you can wave, I need a big wave and a big smile. I just love you. All right, you got your journals, you got your pen? Friends, welcome to Gift and Power.
Debbie, how are you?
Oh my gosh. You know what I love about this is that was almost as if it were actually happening. I'm guessing there were a few people who actually waved back at the screen. Folks, what I want to do here is I want to understand that this hunger, this appetite that we feel people have for connection, it can be supported in a little bit easier ways than maybe we thought possible before. Sergeant Harris, I'm delighted to be here with you and everybody else. It's International Women's Day. I've already been rocking and rolling. I got to do a workshop for the 67th Cyber Wing this morning, and now we get to spend some time with folks who are getting after the effect and the impact of connection.
It's a pleasure to have you here, JW. I just wanted to start off, where are you calling in from?
So right now I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. I am at the, I work out of the Air War College on loan to the Leader Development course for Squadron Command. Right now, there's probably a few folks who are typing in one of the various chat channels. If you've attended LDC, if you've heard of LDC, if you want to get into LDC, I know a guy. But it's been a pleasure. Sergeant Harris, today is day 1,504 that I have had a CAC. I don't call it a CAC card anymore. I'm one of the newer guys around the AETC and Air University circle. By way of background, I spent the first 47 years of my life under the protection of what you all decided to do. Some of you when you were teenagers, late in life, Jody and I got the chance to serve wearing this uniform every day.
I wish I was keeping track of how many days I've had a CAC. I have no idea what that number is, and one day I'm going to be like you. What is your attachment to the gift of attention and the power of connection? How did you get involved with, leading these sessions?
Really, it started during COVID. Before that, the work that I had always been doing, I'd been in a position or given the opportunity of being in a room where things happen. I was always in a room where there were other people, and I watched, and I continue to watch, when we bring people together. Because those of us in the DAF, those of us in any kind of an organization, I promise you in the next year, you're going to bring people together. It's going to be an important day, a stand down day, a tactical pause day, a resiliency day, a difficult conversation day. And what I found happening, especially during COVID, is that Sergeant Harris, we went lights out. Right? The number I was told was 80,000 airmen graduated BMT wearing masks. 80,000 airmen graduated BMT hiding. And then over the years since COVID, we still have people. I just attended a meeting in between my sessions this morning. We had 30 people on a Zoom meeting, one person on video. And so this concept of bringing people together, giving each other the gift of our attention. And let's just face it, there is a lot of communication that happens when I can see your beautiful face. It's not required, but oh my goodness, is it powerful. So what happens when I put attention on connection? That's really what was the impetus for this work.
Now, COVID was so I was at Syracuse, New York at the time, and I think that we really thought coming out of COVID that connection would be easy. That we've been itching for it for so long, and that the second we're in the same room with each other, we would immediately be able to connect. And we see that's not it, right? Just being in the same room as someone is not immediate connection with someone. And you mentioned looking at attention as a gift, and I had the pleasure to watch the whole session. I couldn't participate. But you also mentioned that paying attention. You said that we are actually paying it in a transactional sense and expecting something back. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. Those of you watching this right now, reach into your wallet, pocket, or purse and go grab a couple of dollar bills. And here's my ask. If you were going to give those couple of bills away, would you expect something in return? All right. I go to a coffee shop and I order what it is that I would love to taste in 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to tap my phone. I'm going to tap my watch. I'm going to give some cash. I'm paying for something in return. I applied that concept, that theory, to what happens when I walk into a room and I make awkward eye contact with someone. If I look at them, I'm now paying attention. And there's a biological, human, tribal expectation, anticipation. Why don't we do that one? By the way, that balance being between expectation and anticipation, that's a fulcrum that we need to be careful about. So when I pay attention to something, right? I mean, who's had this experience? You get a book, you're reading a book, you're reading, get to the bottom page, I have no idea what you just read. Someone's going to have a resonance with that. Well, for sure. I paid attention. Actually, I didn't pay attention. So do I go back and reread what I just read? Let's put a book down at the dinner table. What if someone I love and loves me says something and I realize that I didn't hear anything that she or he said for the past 45 seconds? What happens when I don't pay attention is I don't get the thing in return. So I guess my question to us is, what do we hope happens? Because I want to move from hope to try to influence the outcome. What do I hope happens when I give my attention away? There's something that I'm anticipating or expecting in return.
No, I 100% agree with you. And this kind of walks us into the next stage of your prompt. So you split it into 2 different sections. And your first prompt was asking all the attendees, what have I not paid attention to? What have I ignored? So when crafting this panel, where do you get that question from? Why is it important to have people think about that?
Sergeant Harris, thank you. My approach to this human domain of leader development is I want to flank the objective, right? Everything that I've read, and again, I've only been here for 4 years, so I'm trying to speed up. Age 47, I'm trying to figure out what is this war thing that now I'm enabling the war fighter to go do what she or he needs to do. And what I realized is that everything about fighting is about flanking. Right? We go over, we go under, we go off to the side. My cyber folks, you do your cyber thing, except for PME. PME, we continue to hammer away in a frontal assault. And so if I'm going to run a program, Sergeant Harris, on the gift of attention, why wouldn't I start by asking folks, hey, what have you not paid attention to lately?
Well, that question really put some people through the ringer. And I think as I was watching, I'm asking myself the same thing. What is it like to put so much focus into something that I have not focused on or that I've ignored? So we have a few clips from that first section, and we're going to play that for you now.
Hi, I'm Shelly. I'm out in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I will say that I felt guilty when I wrote down my list, because one of my things was I did both professional and personal for things that I didn't pay attention to, because I'm a true believer in the work-life balance. And so, but one of mine was I didn't call my mom. And so I was on vacation and I got home late Saturday night. I was super tired and I had every intention. And then yesterday I got so busy at work, and then I got home and I was exhausted and I didn't call my mom. And so I felt super guilty. And then the ladies in my group were like, yeah, I forgot to make a couple phone calls too. And I realized like we all forgot to do something that had to do with our mom. And so it wasn't just me. And so, so they made me realize like, it's okay. And I'll call my mom tomorrow and I can tell her like, hey, I forgot to call you. And then, Tuesday night, I did this awesome thing and sorry. And I'll try to be better. So let me know that it's okay. It's okay not to accomplish every single thing every single day.
The idea of not contacting your family, not being able to talk to your mom. So I did all the work ahead of schedule. I told my mom I was going to be very busy the next few days during the Women's Symposium. But I've made that mistake as well of just not setting the time aside, kind of getting throughout your workday, and that's hard. Why is that something that I guess we can use to connect with people, JW?
I'm pretty emotional right now. This is such an important aspect of this work. We start with the gift of attention, and we start with, and forgive the analogy, but brother, I wanna itch at that scab to make it bleed again so that I can sell you the Band-Aid you need. And here's the facts. When I look out at a group of airmen, doesn't matter what level, what stage, maybe they just graduated tech school and PCS and they're trying to figure out which the best way to drive to base. It could be that person on terminal and they're wondering what's it going to be like to be a Mrs. or a Mr. Everybody has some realization or some piece of their mind that is shoulding on themselves. That is shoulding on themselves. I should do this. I should do this. I should be this. I should be that. And so what comes forward for me is I believe that sometimes we make it a little bit bigger than it needs to be because that's what it has been. Folks, you have 1,440 minutes in a day. It takes me roughly 30 to 45 seconds to open my phone. Everybody watching right now, grab your phones. Go to your messaging app, Signal or Messages or Facebook Messenger. While I'm talking, it's going to take you 30, 45 seconds to send a little buddy check with someone on your heart right now. Now, what stops someone from doing the buddy check? They wonder, how long is it going to take if they actually call back to check in with me? That's paying attention. So that concept of I can send a buddy check, that takes me 30 to 45 seconds. What happens if they actually need to talk right now? What happens if when the conversation ensues, that's going to be 1% or 2% of my day, right? There's 96 blocks of 15 minutes in a day. So 15 minutes is about 1%. It's 196. Just go with me on the math here.
I trust you, JW.
Can I afford to give someone 1% of my day? And that's where we get into the connection piece of this, but I really want to foot stomp. I really want to express that in significance. When we show up and work together, there is someone in that room whose mind is on a guilty feeling or on a shoulding feeling.
That the should thing really reaches me. I kid you not. I had conversations with Chief Fields a little bit earlier, and that conversation came up of shoulding, right, on ourselves and on others. And the idea of questioning, do I have enough time? I see that all the time. My mom and I can talk for hours, right? And there are those moments where you question, do I call now? And, am I too busy? So I guess we do have to be a little more cognizant of that moving forward. The next one, we have another clip coming from Tigger, and this one was fun.
Hey everybody, this is Tigger, Mike, from out here from Maxwell Air Force Base, and so it was interesting. So it's interesting also to listen to everybody in terms of their list. Mine was more of a frustration of well, if I didn't pay attention to it, how the hell am I going to remember what it was that I didn't remember? Like it was a very funny kind of like a circular thing. I'm like clearly if I knew what it was, then I was paying attention to it. So blah, blah, blah. It was a very funny, like a little bit of frustration. And then I started like writing down, and Tina and I talked about this. I'm like just random things that are kind of meaningless little things about, didn't do my laundry for God's sake, or I didn't put some silverware away or something. And then I realized that it's a little thing, but Tina and I talked about this quite a bit was that on my way home tonight, my gas light came on in my car, and it really triggered something because I am wickedly OCD about never letting my gas go low. Like it's a big thing, and Tina and I spent a whole lot of time talking about a whole lot of things, and mine goes back to mine. I'm single. I don't have anybody to call, so who am I going to? unravels a whole lot of things about dependencies on other people. And so I never let it get low. And for some reason, I'm so distracted right now that my gaslight came on, and it really was a sense of kind of like, oh no, okay, there, and that's I was writing it down. I was like, no, that's what I forgot, and that unravels a whole lot of other things. And so it was kind of an important exercise to recognize that there's other things happening that are really distracting me at the moment, and I need to be mindful of those things as well.
Now, JW, I assume you don't give people these prompts purposely to mess with them, correct?
There's a lot of people who know me on the screen today, and someone's going to say, yes, he does. Here's what came forward as I rewatched that scene with my friend Mike. Oprah Winfrey, and I don't know where she got it from, but she had a monologue. It was short. I'm going to paraphrase it in my words. She said, as you're going through life and you need to make a change, the universe will tell you. First, it will whisper across the room. It'll wave to try to get your attention. It'll knock softly on the door. It'll ring the doorbell. It will pound on the door. Eventually, the universe will throw an anvil through your window. My question is, at what point do I pay attention to the things that need my attention? And please, folks, I hope you all get, and Tigger, thanks for sharing that example and letting us see that one more time. This was not about a gaslight on a dashboard. This is about, as you run through a 24-hour period, a 168-hour week, a 52-week year, when I look back, what did not get my attention that I call myself good at, or I tell myself is important. And so I think that piece of the gift of attention and anything that you can do to highlight, wow, where do I need to? Sergeant Harris, can I give one quick tactic that folks can use? And then we can
please
do the
do.
next thing. So here's my ask. If we were live and I could see all of your beautiful faces, I would say, please raise your hand. So go ahead and do this if you're watching. Raise your hand if sometime today you're going to walk into a room where people are already there who like you. Cool.
I would hope so.
Long day at work, get in your car, drive out the base, drive across traffic, you pull into your driveway. At some point, hand will hit doorknob. You'll turn the doorknob and walk into that room. Friends, you have 180 seconds for that night to go one way or the other. Who's ever messed up in the first 180 seconds of walking in the door after a long day? Me too. Me too. It was an eye roll. It was a comment. It was a way that my body worked. You have 180 seconds, sometimes less, for when I walk into that space. What do I attend to? Let's make it a verb. What do I ignore? And how do I map between those two?
When you mention that, first 180 seconds, it makes me think about how fast we can make mistakes at the beginning of a day and then hyperfixate on that the entirety, right? So then now your whole day is either ruined or you are just kind of tripping over a mistake at the beginning, right? At the beginning of your day. Is that something that you've dealt with as well, JW?
So why don't I make this as real as I can? In the next couple of weeks, many of you are going to be in a meeting with new people, and you're going to want to do the introductions around the room. Been there. What's your name? What's your FSC? What's your base? And what's your favorite vegetable? Or what's your favorite music? Or here's my ask. Every time I've been in one of those exercises and people introduce themselves, they are using your word, Sergeant Harris, hyperfixating. Should I tell them it's a broccoli, or should I tell them it's a carrot? Should I tell them it's rap? Should I tell them it's country? We don't pay attention to what anyone else is saying. And then after we introduce ourselves, you know what we do? We judge ourselves on what we should have said. How am I doing so far? So here's how I do it. What I would encourage people to do the next time you come together, have people make a list of, how about make a list of things that are meaningful to you? And now, as I introduce a group, I let them know my name, my FSC, and what base I'm at, and I share some of the things that are meaningful. See, if I practice being in a meaningful state, putting attention on something where we can actually connect on, I don't know, maybe I will judge myself a little bit less, and maybe I'll stop thinking about that thing that I wished I would have said. I will never end an introduction talking about the fact that my wife and my books are important and meaningful to me. They are.
I am sure you are going to upset a few people because that's going to ruin icebreakers moving forward. I mean,
okay.
That right there is what people go to, right? Of just asking these little questions. So now you're asking people to kind of shift towards what's meaningful to them.
Here's the
what's
deal.
meaningful to their crew.
I don't want to break ice. I want to start a fire. I want to bring light to a room, not darkness and cold. Breaking ice means that it's cold and we need to chip away at something. Lighting a candle and letting one candle light another candle and light another candle. Now we have 3 candles. Your candle's burning, my candle's burning. I don't want to break ice.
Well, in these breakout rooms, that definitely happened. I think a lot of them had these opportunities to connect with each other. And if I remember correctly, the next clip actually has 2 of them kind of supporting each other. So let's go to that clip.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm at Randolph here in Texas. I guess for me, this was kind of a little difficult at first because trying to figure out what it is that I haven't noticed. And so I kind of started thinking, well, I didn't notice if there were stars out last night. And so I was just writing things like that. So I guess I took it a totally different way. But difficult, I guess, would be my emotion to it. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tina. Hannah, you are not alone because I find it difficult as well. And the reason being, due to and I had to slow my brain down for a second to kind of focus in, reason being because I'm constantly on the go. I'm always on the go, on the go, on the go, on the go. Not just at work, even in the house. And so sometimes it's difficult to, I guess, with the, paying attention to stuff and all that kind of stuff, because in my mind, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. In reality, I'm probably skipping a whole bunch of things. So with that being said, Hannah, you're not alone. I found it difficult too.
What I love about this clip is that, her mentioning I didn't see the stars, right? There are certain things that happen in our day that we know are there, right? The stars don't move, and I don't think they have any intention to anytime soon. And I know there's a lot of military people who, you leave work, you have to drive home, and you completely forget that entire process getting home. What's your take on that, JW?
We tend to want to be where we're not. And then when we get there, we wonder what we should have been doing. There's the should again. So what happens is the more we explore this, and we're pretty deep in this paying attention thing, paying attention is in service of or to. Paying attention is not the end. Paying attention is the cause to get to the symptom. See, here's the thing, Sergeant Harris, is I can fake a sneeze and I'll be blessed. I do this in all of my audiences all the time. It wasn't a trick. I was trying to prove a point. See, we could have gotten out of this thing. We would have had an hour-long conversation. I wouldn't have been blessed. But because of our upbringing, the culture that we're in, if someone speaking sneezes, what do? We bless them. My question to each one of you is the symptom of connection, the symptom of psychological safety, the symptom of working together is the result of causes, training, and reward or correction. And so as you're thinking through, how am I going to bring this concept of not just stopping at paying attention, but using attention as the arbiter, as the gateway to connection? And so that's what I'd like to make sure that people walk away with in the back half of our session today.
Yeah, and a lot of you hear it throughout some of these clips of people talking about how they have to slow down, right? There is a big need for them to sit with it, and when you gave them the original prompt, I think it was like 20 minutes of time for them to be able to write things down and communicate with others. Why does it take us so long just to process this prompt?
That's a great reminder to me. So those of you who have been around programs that I've run, you know I like to slow things down. So Sergeant Harris, while that activity took 20 minutes, it was really 4 activities. And generally what I like to do, and as leaders, the next time you bring your people together, please be thinking about how this model tracks for you. Number 1 is I need to set the stage. I need to create context. All right, so there I was. And all of a sudden, I'm going to present an idea, a concept. In this case, I told the folks, we're going to spend and pay attention tonight. Number 2 is I had them turn off their video, Sergeant Harris. I had them open their notebook, and on their own, by themselves, I even turned off my video so it didn't seem like I was staring at them while they were writing. No one likes that kind of proctoring anyway. They got to write in their own notebooks. Number 3 is I had them work in groups of 2. Because traditional PME, it likes to put people on the spot. Traditional PME would give a group a prompt and then ask who'd like to share out loud in front of everybody. And here's what I know at that Senior NCO Academy, there's going to be someone that raises their hand, and there's going to be 217 people who don't. So if I can get people to work in a pair, well, now they're both together and they're both in front of one another. And I can do this in person. I can do this in Zoom. Number 4, and this is what we get to share as the recorded events, we get to have people report out who are willing, nay, who have practiced before they had to perform. They got to think about it. They got to write it on their own. They got to share it as a rep with one other person. And then they got to share out loud in front of everybody. Does it take a little bit longer? Yes. Does it go a little bit deeper? Every time.
100%. And I'm one of those extroverted people when it comes to, PME that are eager to, raise their hand. And sometimes I just do it, to help the instructor or what have you. But it is amazing that every single, for the first half and the second half, everyone ended up saying something. And I think it is due to you giving them that time, and they get to, like you said, they get to try it out, and they are free, and they were very open about, to Tigger being like, it was hard and I didn't like the question, but I understood it later. You get a lot of honesty out of people. And we also got a lot of honesty out of Rachel, which is the next clip.
I don't feel bad for ignoring housework. I don't feel bad for ignoring not getting ready for things. I'm a list maker, so if I ignored it, it's because priority-wise, it just wasn't time yet. But having to say out loud when I my children or my pets or whatever was really hard. And it was so great to be in a group with people that were interested in, making me feel like I'm not the worst mom ever when I admit I can't listen to video game talk for hours on end. So it was really nice connecting with people that have children and know what it's like to go through our work tempo and get that sometimes when we're trying to bond with our kids, it's not as easy when they're doing things we're not interested in.
I genuinely think that is one of the hardest things to say, because there is a lot of pressure from society, right? To try to, you have to be involved with your kids, right? Or people trying to distance, I guess, moms or judge women too harshly about that. And she got a lot of support from the group. And we talked about it earlier, JW. Where does that come from?
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. Everything that we had done up to that point created the potential for that kind of vulnerability to be shared. Specifically and very pointedly, we created an environment where we were not there to help or fix one another. There are some of you watching this today that tab on your shoulder has put you in a position, that pin above the name has put you in a position to fix, to solve, to move forward, to move on. What happens when we create a buffer and we offer folks the opportunity to share without being judged, helped, or fixed? And it's hard. I'm thinking of the old ACE, right? Not the new one. And you Air Force people, you keep using old acronyms for new things. You got to stop that, right? The old ACE, it was ask, care. Let me get to the third one in a moment. What we did a lot of was asking and caring. What we created was an environment where the people ended the session and they were good. They didn't need escorting. What they needed was reconnecting. And so the challenge that I put out there is, hey, when you share something, don't feel like people are trying to or going to fix you. But wouldn't it be neat if a week, a month, a quarter later, an email did come in? You know, it's fascinating. I'm going to have to close it, Sergeant Harris, but this is me being very transparent. I left my email up on my other screen, and I keep getting these LinkedIn invitations. I think people watching this are trying to connect, right? What happens when we can follow up with people and continue that deepening of connection?
Yeah, and so for those who are watching, what you're missing out on is that as these people are opening up what they, have ignored or whatever, there wasn't commentary, right? So each person just comes up, says their piece, and moved on. And I think that there are so many individuals who are so eager to try to help and rob people of the, autonomy of just being able to express their concerns with others, be heard and be seen, but not be seen as weak, right? Or not be seen as, oh, I can't handle this, myself. And I thought that was amazing. Each individual just said their piece, and even you leading it. I think, I saw you up there, you were cheering them on, but aside from that, you were also just letting people say their piece.
So I want to foot stomp right now. The instructor or facilitator does not need to repeat or rephrase everything that a student says in a group. And you want to talk about maybe me upsetting the cart a little bit. I cannot tell you how many times that I've been a student or participant in a meeting and I share something and the facilitator simply repeats it for everybody, or worse, they try to say out loud what I said. So what you see in the work that I do, when we're in Zoom and I've got 20, 30 people, I click mute on my mic. After someone shares, we all throw a little heart or a star or a thumbs up, and the next person shares. Which, by the way, that's why this session took a little bit too long for us just to play as a recording, because Sergeant Harris, you saw it, there were some silent periods.
People need some of that silent time. After we finish up the first section, you decide to ask people, what are they wondering about? Was the next prompt for the second half. What's the significance of that question?
Yeah, so in my experience, the way that I present this is at the end of a day, I will feel something that's usually in this heart center, top of my gut. I will wonder something, and that's usually based on an experience I had, meeting experiences I've had. And then I'll be thinking of something. And that's brand new. It's something I'd never seen or heard or been a part of before. And in 1,504 days, I'm still learning new things, right? I remember when I was told that it's not a CAC card, it's a CAC. And I remember being told that I was the FNG that they were talking about, right? That was all new to me. But now what I wonder and what I feel is what happens when a new member, PCAs or PCS, is in, and they're, what's that saying, Bambi? Back at my base, and they bring that forward. Folks, as we balance the beam between tradition, 76 years of history, and context, the national security strategy that gave us 3 go-dos, prosperity, security, and what was that third one? Values. Now we're trying to understand, how does tradition meet context? And I'm here to report the fulcrum is your culture. Your culture of connection is going to weigh toward the AFI. It's going to weigh toward the next decade of what it means to wear the uniform or the things that us civilians wear.
Well, there was a lot of time for reflection for all the members in the panel, and our first clip is with Tigger.
Hey everybody, it's Tigger again, Maxwell Air Force Base. Big thing with tonight. What I'm wondering is clearly I'm wondering how in the hell I became so disconnected from the people in my unit. I've always prided myself on being really kind of connected and kind of like really understanding my people. And as a squadron commander, I was out and about all the time. And somehow over the past year in my new job, I've really become like an administrator, and I'm sitting in my office and I don't know my people well enough. And this is a really good reminder of the fact that I need to get off my ass and get out of my office every now and then and kind of figure out what's actually happening.
That type of honesty. So there were airmen all the way up to, you know, colonels in this conversation. And that honesty is amazing. How does that happen to you know, individuals like Tigger that become separated?
So I'm reflecting right now on the three things it takes to change a heart, to change a mind, to change a culture. Everyone and their brother is going to tell me, everyone and their sister is going to tell me it takes time to change. Great, write it down. That's one of the three of the angles. It also takes times, Sergeant Harris. So the more times that I can do something in the time I have, it becomes more comfortable. Right? Practice in my book doesn't make perfect. Practice makes easier. But then here's the third one, and this might be the most important one relative to this Women's Air and Space Power Symposium. Timing. It has never been 8 March 2023 before. And now that it's 8 March 2023, what can we do today that quite frankly you could not do 60 months ago or 60 years ago? So as we're starting to think of what's going to make the change, what made the change in our evening event called The Power and the Gift, it was they had time, 90 minutes, but we had times. And several times they would write something down, they would process it on their own, they would work in a small group, they would return to the large screen. And oh, by the way, timing, it was the beginning of the year of 2023. And people were in that fresh start mode. Nothing like taking advantage of what's current.
I think timing is extremely important. I've had many moments where you attempt to, you know, connect with someone who is busy or have other people who are kind of like reaching out to me. And if they are not in that mindset, if you do not give them that space to kind of meet you there, you end up, you know, pushing them away. And that's something as we think about being able to connect with our peers throughout, you know, for airmen and guardians, it's important to keep that in mind, right? To meet people where they are, give them that space, let them process what they need to process as you attempt to, you know, build a connection with them and hopefully be able to expand that connection throughout the rest of your office. We have another clip, and this one's from Rachel.
Hey, Rachel from Colorado again. I'm wondering which connections I think I have right now are even real. I'm going to go to my next base in a few months. Am I even going to still talk to some of the people in my office? We talk about connections, and you go to work every day and you see these people for years on end, and then you go to your next base and that's it.
JW, I grew up in a military family, and I went to 4 different elementary schools, 3 different high schools. So I got very used to whether that be, you know, good or bad, of being like, oh, well, these connections are going to be shallow. I will not hear from you again. And it's sad to see that in the military, as we talk about being, you know, wingmen to each other. I am sure Rachel's not the only one who's felt that. And it's hard for people to swallow that we are all near each other, feeling like 2 days from now, I will never hear from you again, and everything is surface level. How do we scratch at that? How do we make sure that it is deeper than surface level?
I don't know. Where I went on that, what they did not prepare me for, right? So I got here in 2019 and I went to my right start because it was the first Tuesday of the month, February 7th of 2019. So there I was. And I'm looking around and what I'm observing is a lot of people who were there to check a box. which is one kind of connection that I can work. Another kind of connection, this is what happens over time with times, depending on timing. So if you're going to draw another triangle, folks, here you go. And if anybody draws this, please send it to me. I'd love to hear or see how you process it. The other kind of email in my inbox, the other kind of lunch that I can have, the other kind of FaceTime that I can call you and talk is going to be relationship building. Now, you got to remember, relationship building is contextual. My wife and I, we don't have kids. So when I sit down with someone and I'm getting to know them and they're talking about their 13-year-old and the soccer match that she's playing, and they talk about their 18-year-old and the college he's looking at, I can nod my head up and down. But the relationship that we're building, that context base. So as Rachel was saying, and as so many of you have experienced, you build a relationship knowing that there's a countdown clock. Well, by the way, in my right start, no one told me that as a brand new civilian in the world's greatest Air Force, that I was going to fall in love with people who were going to leave me. No one told me that. They told me a lot of other things, and they gave me a map of the base. But no one said, you know, you're going to get 1 year with these people. You're going to fall in love, work alongside them, and do some amazing things, and then they're going to leave you. Which leads me to the third kind of connection, which is the opportunity development. What chance am I given because of a connection, a relationship, and a transaction in the past? Brother, it's humbling and prideful at the same time, if I'm allowed to say that out loud, that I'm even involved in this day. Folks, I'm a white guy. And yet I got invited to the arena where I think I can participate. My ask of us is when we meet somebody, they come into our unit, our office, our team, what transactions can we help them with while we've got them? Which ones can we deepen that relationship with while they're here? And how can we continue to be the opportunity development, the mentor, the sounding board, the shoulder that they can come to? And by the way, if you drew that as a triangle, ultimately you're going to circle it out, because I want that to roll down the road. I want to say I'm going to do something with you. We develop a relationship built on trust, and someday we're going to ask each other to participate in something that we couldn't have if we didn't do those first two things.
I feel deeply connected to, you mentioned being a white guy here, a part of the Women's Symposium. And it brings me back to a moment where I kind of felt the same as an airman. In the first Common Camera Squadron, we had, it was lean in. So it was Major Cherney and a few women from the office. And, I decided to attend. And it felt like a fire hose, because I'm realizing that a lot of the context behind what these women are going through, the topics that we're hitting, it's not about me either forcing my way to the table, right? But it's about understanding the context that they're coming from. And listening to them honestly, and then being able to reflect on myself and ask, hey, what can I do better? How can I connect with them, right? But it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for me to be here in the moment as well. We have another clip before we start to head out.
Because of the conversations this morning, I'm wondering why the connections, especially here at Kunsan in an isolated environment, I'm wondering why these connections don't exist to other places. In our unit, we have a good group of senior NCOs and just everybody as a whole, and we get out and we reach and teach and touch everybody in the unit, so everybody knows who everybody is. But I'm a overseas type person, and when I go get stationed back in the States, I don't feel any of the camaraderie. I don't feel any of the connectedness that we've been talking about today or just been experiencing. So just trying to figure out how to take what we have in the overseas environment and incorporate that in a stateside environment.
What hurt me about this was that overseas, a lot of people anticipate that, yes, you're away from your family, right? There's not a lot of Americans with ties in these various European countries, Korea, Japan, but Stateside, the same thing. I'm stationed in Utah right now. Most of my family is located in South Carolina. A few are in Texas. So that need for connection is no different from overseas, yet it's not here, JW. Why is that? What can we do?
I wonder what the definition is that people have in their mind of to be connected. Break, what the definition in their mind of to do connection. Break, the definition in their mind of what it means to have connection. That be, do, have. I know I keep doing triangles. Everything I do is a triangle because there's only three things and I can remember three things. In all seriousness, we go from being through doing to having. So if I want to reverse engineer, I can start at the end. Or I can do what the brain does so beautifully, which is it redefines the problem. See, Einstein, my mentor, Al, I get to call him, he apparently said that if someone gave him a problem, he would spend 55 minutes trying to craft the question appropriately, because in 300 seconds, he'd be able to solve it. I think what we've done, Sergeant Harris, is we've flip-flopped. We're spending 55 minutes answering the question. And then we wonder at the end of the day, did me shooting all over that airman really help them? Did me justing on that airman really help them, right? Because I've got some people out on the video today who should on others, right? You should go down to MFLAC. You should go take a course. You should knock off your CCAF. I've got some other leaders out there who just on people, right? Well, just set your alarm early, get up and go do your PT. Just make your dental appointment and you're going to have, you'll be in order. And then I've got other people who just and should in the same sentence. We have a different definitions in our mind of what connecting, connection, and connectedness even mean. Why is it that when someone deploys, why is it when someone's overseas, why is it when someone's far away from the people that they can connect? Well, there's a bunch of research out there. Just take a look at the Blitz in London, right? When mental health institutions were preparing in 1938, 1939, and 1940. I'm just going back in time to the last time that we had this great power struggle that we're starting to see or are seeing right now. In 1938, 39, and 40, the mental health institutions of London were preparing for a massive increase as they anticipated the bombing raids over their city. Research shows and empirical evidence provides the time that London had the fewest inpatients to mental health were during the raids. What happened when people had to go underground? What happened when dozens of people were killed every night, 1940 and 1941? They came together. Now, how do we do that? And this is the question that we have to ask ourselves. How do we do that without being bombed and without going through trauma? And I guess the real question is, can we? What we established in that event, Sergeant Harris, is yes, we can.
And I felt that. And I think that the idea of the expectation going into relationships, right, expecting it to end because I know a PCS is coming, or expecting someone to behave a certain way instead of building that connection with them and figuring out, well, it's not just, like you said, it's not just get your alarm set. It's asking, okay, well, what does it take, right? Where are you failing in this regard? What can I do to help you? Or maybe this is just a one-time thing and you don't need me to resolve the problem, right? But we have to have that conversation with folks. Expectation going into this, a lot of people didn't think they'd be as connected as they were at the end. And this next clip is about that.
Hi, everyone. Tina again. Oh, this time I tell you I'm at Shepherd Air Force Base. So what is on my mind? I am wondering why I'm able to really, truly connect with how many individuals on this virtual world. than it is for me to connect with some of the individuals on my installation. And I work side by side on a day-to-day basis. So that is currently what's on my mind. I have had some genuine conversations with Tigger as well as Will, and it's mind-blowing. It's baffling. Good thing, great experience, but I'm wondering, not but, however, comma, I'm just wondering how I'm able to have this wonderful dialogue, and it's a struggle sometimes with the people that I work with. So
it is amazing what happened in those 89 minutes between all the attendees. Some of them have no idea, never met each other before. There were some people up as early as 4 a.m. And I think there were others who were in the chat at 6 p.m. because this was, all over the globe. And they were finding ways to connect with people thanks to asking themselves those two questions. What do you reflect on at the end of that session, JW, as you walked away? I mean, what are you taking with yourself?
I truly believe, have been told, and have evidence from the folks that I've gotten to serve over the past 4 years and a couple of weeks. People are hungry for connection, and there's a fear of connecting. And where those two things blur, the confluence of those two rivers is what I call the work. See, I want the friends I've got. I want the team I've got. I want some of the family I've got. I look over here and I go, well, that's connection. And I like the connections I have. I look over here and I ask myself, but do I like connecting? This is where if we were live and I could see people and I could say, raise your hand if you find yourself on the introversion side of the 16 personalities. And here's the deal, Sergeant Harris, I'm going to have people raise their hands. I go, great. So those of us on the introversion side, the connecting can be a hurdle. We want to have connected. We wonder, how do we connect? And this, I'm going to foot stomp, is the place that we have been given as leaders. Our airmen and our guardians, they will start anything we ask. They'll deviate pretty quick, but they'll start whatever we ask. So why wouldn't I start by asking the people I serve to go through the first connection that I think is important, connection to self? Why wouldn't I open the aperture up? Maybe hand out a 3x5 note card and a pen as folks walk into your commander call, as people walk into the weekly meeting, as people walk into that resiliency or tactical pause day. Why wouldn't I have them write down a few things to connect with themselves? The easiest one I know of, Sergeant Harris, is the rose, the bud, and the thorn. I mean, literally, I'll start meetings and just ask people to take 2 minutes in their journal, make a list. What's beautiful in your life? What's a little thorny in your life? And what's growing in your life? Those of you who are parents, do this at dinner tonight. Those of you who are children, do this with your aging parents this weekend. The second connection, Sergeant Harris, that I would want people to put pen and paper together to create is their connection to the mission. I don't want to know if they've memorized the mission statement. I'm going to get myself in trouble, but I'm going to go for it. I don't even want to know why they do what they do. They have their own reasons for why. I want to understand their connection to the mission. I teach the leader development course for Squadron Command. My mission is to equip leaders to thrive in command. My connection to that is I have had toxic leaders. I want fewer of them. That's my connection. But everyone that I work with, they have their own connection to what it is that we do around here. Oh, by the way, that leads me to the third. Again, another 3. Now, I take my connection to self, my roses, my buds, my thorns. I take my connection to the mission to equip leaders to thrive in command. And now I go share that with a teammate. Now I share that with a wingman. And I find out where we are tracking side by side and where he or she can be the yin to my yang. where I look at something from this perspective and she looks at it from this ladder, and all of a sudden we've bridged the San Francisco Bay north to south.
That paying attention to yourself, and there's a quote out there somewhere, and I don't know who said it, but it is so hard to care for others if you don't care for yourself, right? Getting a perspective of who you are, what you care about, your roses, your thorns, I think is so important to connect with others. But surprisingly enough, as you showed in the outro, that there are a lot of things that we connect with that are so close to us that we just don't pay attention to on average. Here's that next clip.
This will be the last artifact from the evening. What was fascinating is you didn't have to go that far to find something that had meaning to you. So I want to be able to see your beautiful face. I want to see your pretty smile. Will, I need a little bit. There you go. On 3, 2, 1. People tell me all the time it takes time to change culture, and they wish they had environments where people would be real with each other. We did it in 89 minutes, friends.
And for those who didn't get to see the lead up to that, almost no one left their room. So wherever they happen to have these laptops, cell phones, whatever they're zooming on, no one left the camera. Everything was just right in distance. Their children, their cats, their plants, photos of extended family members, all the things that they care about. The same baseball, JW. But all those things are right there with them. The other thing that I did mention, you had everyone write everything down, JW. And I've been journaling for 10 years now, and I love it. I think it helps my thought process. What's the significance for you in having people actually take that time and write down their thoughts throughout these prompts?
Yeah, depending on how deep I need to think, I will write differently. So if I do not need to think about what it is that's in my brain, it just needs to get out. There is nothing faster than pulling out my phone, dictating a message into an email to myself that later on I can copy and send that out. If I don't need to think, dictation. I can talk at about 110, 120 words a minute, get the content out and move on from there. If I need to think deeply, I will open up my notebook or my Remarkable or my whiteboard. And brother, I'll write down things with my non-dominant hand. If I need to slow myself down, I know no better way than to mess with how I get stuff out of my head. If I want to go fast, I'm going to dictate it, or I'm going to type it, or I'm going to write with my dominant hand. If I need to slow down, I'm going to close my eyes and write with my non-dominant hand. So that way I can see what's coming out of my brain. In the last minute, I want to make a foot stomp here. As we're journaling, be careful about writing a diary of the day. Every now and then, write a because of the day. And that move to get from past to present, that can help people pay attention, but also build connection.
I enjoyed every minute of watching that. Afterwards, I think it was about a day or two later, I decided to go and take some of the airmen in my office and have us all go out to lunch together and finding ways to, put those things that I heard about to work. Journaling has been a pleasure for me. I really enjoyed writing and kind of trying to stick along with the course throughout. JW, it is a pleasure to spend time with you. I don't know if I'll be in Alabama anytime soon, but if I am, I will come looking for you. We need more people like you in the Air Force.
Thank you, Sergeant Harris. To everyone in the Women's Air and Space Power Symposium, thank you for the invitation. Everybody watching, I love you. I am in awe of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Take care, JW. And now we're going to go back to my friend, Staff Sergeant Granger.